Welcome to TLDR with two nerds in a truck. We are talking about Rondeau Provincial Park today.
Yeah, so this is actually our second trip to Rondeau Provincial Park. We went at the beginning of the season last year, same time of year, and we liked it enough that we came back. We had not been doing TLDRs back then, so this is our first video review of it. What would you like to say about it? Southern Ontario?
It's a birding paradise is what it's going to be. This is what draws us in. This is what's going to keep bringing us back. So that's kind of what I think of it.
Yeah, as far as the basics go, though, so it is in Southern Ontario. It's about, was it 2 hours from Hamilton?
I think so.
It was about 2 hours from Hamilton. It's on the north shore of Lake Erie.
Yep.
And yeah, it's really known for birding. So that's going to be a lot of what we talk about today.
Yep.
So let's get to it.
All right. So the first thing to talk about is registration and check-in. When you get in, they've got a really small booth, and for us, they came out and actually talked to us right at the window. It was a little bit weird because they ask a lot of questions, and they really were.
It was like an interrogation.
Yeah,
kind of.
I was just going to be polite and say extra meticulous. So, we pre-registered our vehicle. They had all the license plate information down.
We should say we booked this the 5 months to the day at 7 a.m.
Oh, right.
Online, no problems. Like as far as the registration part of it. And we had pre-registered, as you said.
Right, yeah. The Ontario Provincial Park registration system is, kind of a well-known system. Yep, it works great. So, yeah, arriving on site, they wanted to confirm our towed vehicle license plate. That's fine. Then they wanted to check our RV motorhome license plate. And I had it all, but then they had the one lady, checking it to confirm. And it's just a little bit extra, and it seemed a little bit more time-consuming than was really necessary.
So I'm going to add on to this. So this was actually the second bit of weirdness we'd had with the license plates thing, because normally what happens, because we drive our motorhome and we tow our car for getting around, generally speaking, you register your car as the vehicle because your motorhome is your tent, essentially. So they never ask you your license plate for that. Have you ever been asked for the license plate for the motorhome?
Very rarely. Pinery does it too, I think.
Yeah. So anyways, it's not usual, and there's nowhere on the registration system to provide your motorhome. It's just the passenger vehicle. So last year when we were here, we got a knock on our RV door, and this was a few hours after. You want to say?
Yeah.
So a few hours after we arrived, we got a knock on our RV, and it was park staff, and they'd said that they hadn't realized we had a tow vehicle. And that there was something to do with the paperwork, and they had to give us new permits for it. It's really odd back then because it's like I had pre-registered with it. So I don't know if they were looking at our registration after the fact. But here, what was strange, you were giving them the information. They read our names to us, and then they acted like they didn't have our license plate information for the car.
Yeah.
So we gave them the license plate. And then they got out of the booth and went to visually check it after we gave them the license plate number that they already had. That was weird,
Yeah. If there was a lineup and they were doing that to everybody, I would have been a little bit maybe annoyed, but we didn't have a line.
What's the point, though? Because it's like they had it in writing from when I pre-registered, and we gave them the same one. It's not welcoming to me. I think that was very well, we have to double check that you told us the right thing. It was weird.
Yep.
And it's not really part of registration and check-in, but the thing that got me about this was later on in our trip. We don't really have a section that's appropriate for this, so I'll just talk about it here. The people next to us.
Oh.
So, I don't know how many families were using the site next to us. I think it was 4.
Yeah, between two sites, they had at least 4 vehicles there. I think
aside from their, yeah.
So
there were just several families that were camping on. There was 3 sites total, 2 sites beside us and 1 site across from us. They had visitors come in and bring more kids that weren't staying on the site.
Yep.
And it was a zoo. So they'd turned the site next to us into a parking lot, parking onto our site also.
Yeah, half of their vehicle was onto our spot, and we're just like, what is this? And we didn't really want to start anything.
No. And they turned that into a parking lot / park because they had this big jungle gym strung up between trees, and it was very, very loud and very much like I kind of wondered if it was some kind of daycare because there were more kids than made sense for that amount of adults, and there were a lot of adults too. So it was a lot of people. So what got me was that they were such sticklers at the front when we signed in, like not trusting that we gave them our license plate information properly. But they drove right past this absolute zoo of people, and now I know the rules for parking, and we didn't narc on them or anything, but like I know the rules about how many people are allowed on a site, and separate families can't share a site, and all that. They didn't bat an eye. I mean, these people could be heard from across the campground. They didn't bat an eye, but they'll double check our license after they've got it in writing and verbally. It was weird. It was off-putting.
Yeah, I mean, and then they had their kids playing baseball on an empty site across the other side, and I don't think they were using a hard baseball. I think it was a softer one, but it just kind of seemed like there are areas for this, not the campground area, you know?
And it was just, to me, it was like they were outwardly breaking the rules. Like, I'm not saying it was one family and they had an extra kid. Like, you're not technically supposed to have more than 6 people, whatever, right?
Yeah.
This was 4 or 5 families. And because of the way they were using the sites, there were 4 or 5 families on 1.5 campsites.
Yeah.
It was packed in. And it was weird for them to be such a stickler over the license and then not bat an eye about that. I am going to give the caveat here. I am on painkillers right now because I overdid it and my tendons didn't like it. So I might be fixating on this. But yeah, anyways, it was weird. We'll go with it's weird.
Okay.
Anyway, maps and signage. The park map is, what is that, 11?
8.5 by 11.
No, it's 11 by 17. It folds out.
I didn't see it was folded.
So anyways, it's a a folded, it's 8.5 and 11 functionally, but it's an 11 by 17. Full color. One side has a map of the overall of the park, and that shows you where all the trails are and how long they are, or how long each of them are. Now, there's no information about the difficulty of the trails, but I really appreciate that the trails are laid out and it shows the distance. We don't see that on a lot of the maps. And it's right on the trails too. It's not a separate list. The other side of the page has the campground map, which is more just the campground area specifically and just a little bit past it. So that's really nice for the detail. On the reverse of it, it's just some general information like the camping fees and services available and whatnot. Overall, I liked it. There were some weirdness the first time we were here a year ago. I remember there was a tower listed. What was the name of the Marsh Trail?
Okay.
And we walked out a certain way to find it because it was listed on the map. And we walked further than we thought we should have to. And we called back to the desk and they assured us it was there. And we told them where we were. And they said, oh, no, you should have passed it by then. You can't miss it.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, well, we were looking for it.
Yeah.
And we kept walking and we never came across it. And now this year, there was something on the website that says it was taken out. So I'm assuming it was taken out last year and that the staff I talked to didn't realize about it. But there was a whole goose chase for that was frustrating. I don't like when maps don't reflect reality. Generally speaking, though, their map is pretty accurate. Like, I haven't had any... It's nothing to write home about, but it's nothing offensive. There are some offensive maps out there in Ontario parks. This one's not. Anyway... the park signage, I think, is adequate. I mean, you can get around, no problem. It's a very straightforward park, though. So it's not one of the parks where you need like a driver and a navigator.
Right.
And it's very simple to get around.
Yeah, the only spot to kind of watch out for is if you go out to the visitor center and you come back to the campground, it's easy to miss that left turn.
Oh, is it? Okay.
You're passing by all these cabins and you're just kind of driving 40 kilometers an hour. And all of a sudden you see this road on the left and you're like, oh, I was supposed to turn there. Whoops.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay. So there's a bit of weirdness here, and it's, I can't remember if it's on the map or not. I don't think it is. There's cabins everywhere, and that isn't reflected. And it's basically, there's cabins on either side of the provincial park, but it's in the provincial. You have to get into the provincial park to get to the cabin. It kind of gives it a weird vibe. And then also was there 2 churches? It was kind of weird. Like, there were multiple churches over by the, what is that area? It's like past the dump, I think it was. But we'd gone around a corner last year. I don't know if you remember this. There was like this swampy parking lot in one church. And I think there was a second one. I might be making up the second one at this point now that I think about it. But it was surreal to be in a provincial park and have the cabins everywhere and then just kind of a church in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So anyway, something to mention. let's get on to stuff that people care about more. Waste and water services.
Yeah, so if you're coming into the park and you need to dump and fill up, you actually pass by the campground road and then go right to the park store and take a left and you get to the waste area. It's a loop around, and as you're looping, there's a jut off to the left, which is where you would obviously dump and fill. So there's one post for the dump. There's actually 2 dump stations there.
And there's a lane on either side.
Yeah. So I guess if you happen to have services on the passenger side, you could use it. Otherwise, I think it's probably intended for people to go through the loop backwards during busy times.
It might be a bypass lane.
Yeah. So nonetheless, there's one hose though, and 2 spots to dump, and then same thing with fill up, where there's 2 spots you can fill up. However, there's only one hose there. The hose does have threaded for your water, so that is kind of nice. You can add your filter to it, and it was pretty easy, nice and smooth, large turns, easy to get around.
Both times we've been here, someone did not understand the assignment though.
Yeah, we saw somebody with a pretty big rig. I kind of suspect it was brand new and they were maybe new to RVing, and he was trying to back into the water area instead of obviously going through this loop. And
not sure what happened there.
Yeah, he failed and ended up going around the loop again.
The wife was adorable though.
Yeah, she was frustrated at him.
But then she just looked at us and gave us the cutest smile. It was cute. Anyway, and then as far as the waste services go,
yeah, there's a whole row of recycling bins and then the garbage there as well. And you just go right through there to come back out.
By right through there, you mean it's kind of a loop. When you turn into the dump station, it's kind of a whole loop from off the main road. So you go off the main road past the day use dump station, and then you continue through to get to the recycling area. Connectivity.
Yeah, we are on Rogers Wireless, and we had great connection the whole time. I believe we did last time as well.
We did. I had a note that we were streaming something at some point.
Yeah, so it's been great.
Yeah, and I've noticed on trails and stuff, because we use different apps for birding and stuff like that, that I've not had any problem. Like Pokemon Go and stuff like that seems to load pretty much everywhere. So accessibility is next. It's actually a pretty accessible park. So with most parks, it says it's got a barrier-free access to all the basics. So the comfort stations, including the showers and laundry, the park store, the visitor center. Now the park store and visitor center were closed every time we've been here. They do specifically tout that they're accessible. They also have a floating beach wheelchair and an all-terrain wheelchair that they have available for use. Those are housed in the visitor center, so I haven't seen them, but the fact that they are touting them, I like that. There are very accessible trails. The Tulip Tree Trail is the only one that's labeled as being barrier-free. That one's the one that's by the visitor center, and it's mostly boardwalk. Is it all boardwalk or mostly boardwalk?
There are several sections of boardwalk, but no.
So was it, I didn't go this time, but was it wet this time, or was it still wheelchair accessible?
Yeah, I would call it wheelchair accessible. It was all dry this time, and it was well maintained. And
we'll talk more about that with the trail. The Spicebush Trail is not marked as being wheelchair accessible. The first time we went, we thought that if it's not wheelchair accessible, it's only very barely not. If you had the all-terrain wheelchair, it would be. This time, it seemed more narrow than I remembered it in places, and there were also some branches down and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say it's wheelchair accessible, but it's, if you have any other mobility issues, I've been able to do it both times, and I've had tendon problems both times. So that was easy. And just in general, the park roads are really wide and really flat. There's been some parks where it's like you wouldn't even really be able to wheel to the comfort station, and that's not an issue here at all. So overall, it's a very accessible park. Okay, so what can you tell us about pets?
Yeah, so dogs are allowed. In fact, we saw a really cute dog, Phoebe. They have to be leashed and picked up after. There is a dog beach, which is out in the general area of the visitor center.
It's pretty far from the campground too. It's not a walk from the campground.
Exactly. You're not going to want to walk them there. It is a drive out there. They do have to be leashed. There are multiple at-risk species in the area, in the driftwood and dune areas. So you want to make sure to keep a close eye on them there.
And other than that, as far as rules for the dogs?
Pick up after them. Don't let them harass wildlife or other people. And, just the normal rules.
Now, I don't know if you remember, but the first time, because we saw a dog this time that we loved. Phoebe was, you didn't really get into it, but Phoebe was amazing. we saw a dog last time that we loved also, and we didn't get the name, but it was a husky and it had heterochromia eyes.
Oh yeah.
And we couldn't pet him because we just sprayed down with like I have note that we used like really nasty bug repellent and we had just used it, so we didn't want to go near the dog.
Yeah.
But gorgeous dog. Anyway, parking. There's decent parking here. Like for each of the trailheads, there's parking lot specifically for it. Some of them are kind of small, but all of the trails that have the small parking lots here are really short trails. So it's not a huge campground, and I think there's probably enough parking for each individual trail, because if it's only 1.5 kilometers long, you're not on it that long.
I think there could be some busy periods where it would be a little difficult. I saw 8 cars at the Spicebush Trail.
Oh, did you?
As I passed by, they were mostly gone by the time I came back. And
That's
this
wild.
is a Sunday in the spring, so I imagine the weekends it could get a little busy. But like you said, people aren't going to be there for very long. I'm sure it would just be a few minutes before somebody would leave.
So the next section we usually talk about is miscellaneous. We usually talk about things like the like sky viewing and stuff like that. This is an area of low light pollution, but it is one of the further south parks. So if you're looking for northern lights, like you're going to need a pretty hefty storm to see it down here. But it is low light pollution. We'd actually put down there that was where we were talking about the churches and stuff. And I just looked it up, and actually there were 2 churches. Last year it says that the churches were noted on the map. I don't see them on the map this time. I don't, but they're not. But anyways, they're by the tennis court. We haven't been down there this trip, so maybe they're not there anymore. Okay. I don't know. In any case, that was the bit of weirdness. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a weird vibe. I noted last time that it feels less like a provincial park and more like a camp, if that makes sense. Like if you went to like a kids camp or something, like a day camp kind of thing. Anyway, on to the next section.
So what can you tell me about the amenities here?
Okay, so as far as the creature comforts go, as we call it, that's usually the comfort stations. There are 3 full comfort stations in the campground area. The campground area is kind of split into 2 areas. Each of the 2 main areas has a centrally located comfort station. And there's another one kind of closer to the beach, like halfway down the length of the full campground area. So I know at least the 2 main ones have flush toilet, showers, and laundry facilities. I'm not sure if the third one has laundry and such, or if it's more of like a change room, because I think it might be intended for the beach. There's also a year-round comfort station that's just flush toilets next to the park store. There's flush toilets in the visitor center, and then vault toilets throughout the rest of the park, but I haven't seen the vault toilets. Have you, or am I just not noticing them?
I haven't come across them either. We don't use them because we've got our own facilities here, but I haven't noticed them.
We got pictures of them last time, so they're out there.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's just weird. Maybe they're invisible this time. I don't know. Anyway, apparently there's also porta potties in the more remote areas on the trail. We didn't get out to either of those on either of our stays. So, anyway, let's move on. Park store, visitor center, what can you tell me?
Yeah, the park store is seasonal, so it was not open during either one of our stays. Both of them were the same time of year, so that explains that. They advertise that they carry the souvenirs and all the basic groceries and things you'd expect for campers, and they have an extensive snack bar and grill. So I kind of wish we could see that.
That would be interesting. Visitor center?
Yeah, the visitor center looks really cute. There's a trail right next to it, so we parked nearby, but we haven't been able to go see it. There's supposed to be a gift store that caters to birders, so that definitely sounds interesting too.
I'd remembered reading about that. It was something like they had a lot of like bird feeders and field guides and such like that. It sounded like it was very much for birders. So the next section is day use area. So their day use area there's not a central day use area. Like there's one that's kind of the day use area for the campground, and that's by the poop loop that has like a picnic shelter and some open area. I think that's probably a play field of something. There's a tennis court kind of over in that area, but near the road there. It's just kind of off by itself, which is kind of weird. And then there's just picnic shelters kind of everywhere, like along the main road and by the beach and stuff like that. I think we counted 5 of them last time we were here.
That is a lot given the size of the park.
Yeah, and they're not, I don't think they were as big as the one at the dump station. I think the one at the dump station's like the central, picnic area. But It seems like a weird location for it to just be across from the dump station.
Yeah.
Anyway, they also have some rentals. So as I said, there was a couple of specialty wheelchairs available. Those are for loan. They also loan out personal flotation devices and have a tackle share program. I don't think they have any rentals beyond that. I hadn't seen anything about boats or such, which is too bad because this would be a cute area to start canoeing, I think.
It really would.
You know? Okay, so what can you tell us about the campsites here?
Well, Rondeau Provincial Park is not really a huge campground, and there's no yurts or cabins available, but obviously we have our RV parking. So about half of them are electrical. Some of them in the southern area look like they might be pull-through sites. All the sites have picnic table and fireplace like you'd expect. Some are pretty big, but a lot of them have kind of bumpy sections and are kind of sloping on that. There are some really cute non-electric sites that have like a raised camping area up that looks really fun. But none of the campsites really have any good privacy.
Okay, so now the privacy thing is key. Both times we've here has been either opening weekend or very close to it. Both times we've had really bad luck with who's camping next door.
Yep.
So I don't know if you remember the last time, but we were camped next to someone who I don't know if they normally camped or not. But they had really, really bright lights on. They turned them on in the middle of the night when they let the dog out. Do you remember this?
I do.
And it was flashing in our window. It was like broad daylight at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Absolutely miserable. And then there was the aforementioned talking about the 4 or 5 families in the one site next to us. So the weird thing is both times we said that the campground felt fairly desolate aside from the drama near our campsite. So we just managed to pick it like out of this whole campground with very few people. Both times we managed to get really crappy neighbors.
Yeah. So of course your mileage may vary, but it could be a vibe for the area. I don't know.
None of the other ones seem to have like, oh no, wait, you know what? There was. We drove around this morning and there were a few sites that looked like they were being used as group sites, which is so weird to me.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it was. There are tons of sites that are open, and we just managed to. That's talent. And the funny thing with last time is this person was acting like an absolute
tool.
Let's say tool. Yes, and he had a company branded vehicle.
Yeah, he did.
We're like, that is bold behavior if you're going to advertise who you are.
Yeah.
You know. So, anyways, yeah. So that's the thing with the campground here. You're not going to camp for the campground, right?
Right.
These are not pretty sites. They are very utilitarian. They're kind of rough. There's not a lot of privacy. But Rondeau, you go as your home base. Like, it's not the kind of campground where I would spend all day sitting in my campsite. You know what I mean?
Oh, I agree with that for sure.
You know, but there's so much to do around here. Like, there's the park itself has a bunch of different trails. We'll get to that in a minute. But then just like we were saying, or no, we haven't even said that yet. We did a bunch of field trips, as we call them, while we were here just to go birding in all these areas around the park. So
yep.
I think if I didn't have anything to do here and we were stuck sitting in our campsite, I would not like Rondeau very much.
Oh, I agree with that. But
because the people watching is not great.
Exactly. You get out of your site and go check out the local area. There's a lot of cool stuff.
So. Anyways, let's talk about the stuff to do then. So first of all, let's talk about the hiking because that's what we tend to do.
Yep.
The trail we've done the most is the Spicebush Trail, which it's listed as 1.5 kilometers, but that's not quite accurate. What would you have to say about Spicebush Trail? I think that's your favorite, right?
It is my favorite trail here. So yeah, it like you said, it's not all that long, but it's really cool. It has several sections of like boardwalk dock kind of areas, which I really like, and it's a big oval shape, like a
tight oval.
Yeah, a tight oval. That's a great way to describe it. But there's tons of birds. You're fairly close to the lake. You can't see the lake, but you can hear a lot of bullfrogs off in the distance and things like that. And just tons of birds flying around all the time. So it's a lot of fun for that one. And I really enjoy it. The woods and everything are really nice. It's got some variety of types of woods as you go through. And yeah.
I was disappointed there's no wildflowers this time. Last time we noticed a lot of wildflowers. And you know what else happened last time that wasn't here?
The butterflies.
Yeah, I was going to say, what else was flying around? There were so many. We'd never seen a red admiral butterfly before. Now, mind you, we'd never gone looking for them. We didn't know what they were, but we'd noticed that this time there were so many of this one kind of butterfly. So this is the park where we looked them up, and I was like, that's a red admiral butterfly. The other interesting thing to note is that last year when we came here, we had been on a bit of a streak, I'll say. We had not seen birds at all in any. It was just when we were starting to get birding, we had just not seen birds for the last bunch of parks we'd been to. And we had seen more birds in the 38-minute walk when we first got to Spicebush Trail than we had seen camping the entire year before that.
Yeah.
So that was a note I'd left. So
I did see a couple butterflies on my trip today.
Oh, shut up.
They were really far away. They were not red admirals. I don't know what they were, but they were not everywhere.
I'm say there were leaves on the wind.
Yeah.
Okay. Warbler's Way Trail. We didn't do this one yet this time, but we did it last time. Do you remember it?
I do.
Okay. So that one is a 0.5 kilometer loop, and it's close to the dump station. It's by like a washer building.
Yeah. That one, it has kind of a weird vibe. You're kind of walking. It feels like it was kind of wrenched in and thrown in there.
It was brand new last time. I remember because there was, it either wasn't on the map or there wasn't. There was something where it was like, it was new enough. It was obvious it wasn't like fully, That's the one we had to walk by, like, wasn't there barbed wire or something? Barbed wire fencing on the side of it?
Just for a short section. And it made you feel like you're walking behind.
Like where you weren't supposed to be.
Yeah. But, other than that, once you get past that area, it gets a little more reasonable and cute.
Yes, I'm looking at our notes. Yeah, there was barbed wire fencing. And the trail itself was okay. I remember it was flat and wide and grassy, but very non-memorable. We didn't see any warblers, but we did see a bald eagle flying overhead.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Unfortunately, the trees were very thick in the area, and I was not able to get any shots of it, but we did get to see it.
Now, you were slow and you didn't get any shots of it, because I'm like, it's up there. Oh my God, there's a bald eagle. And I think he thought I was trolling him or something. So I saw it. Did you end up seeing, or you just didn't get a photo? Okay. Anyway, moving right along. Black Oak Trail. We did this one together last year, and then you did it yourself this time. This is another one that had a bit of a discrepancy when it came to trail length. The website says it's 1.4 kilometers. The signage there says 1.7. I will never understand why there are so many Ontario parks where they will have two different pieces of information, whether it's like the website and the trail map or whatever. It's signage. Sometimes they'll have website, trail map, signage. All three will list different information, whether it's the length or the difficulty or whatever. And it's like, how are you doing this? Anyway, Map My Run said that we'd walked 1.24. So it was, that's a 0.5 kilometer difference between reality and their longest.
Right.
That's when you're talking about a 1.7 kilometer trail that's actually 1.24. 0.5 kilometer is, you know what I mean? If you're going to walk 10 kilometers and you're off by a bit, that's one thing, but that's a huge error margin there. Anyways, ranting about that. So you have done this one the most recently. What can you say about the Black Oak Trail?
So this is nice, just not quite as nice as the Spicebush, in my opinion. The forest is not as tight, so it doesn't feel like you're walking in a forest. It kind of feels slightly more open. And so maybe you have some more opportunity for birds. I didn't get to see a ton, although this time I actually did see a wren, a woodpecker, and I can't remember what else I saw. But I did see some wildlife, just not really a ton. So it's enjoyable. It's a nice walk through the woods, basically.
I'd put down that it's not really a destination trail.
Right.
The other thing to note was that I had noted last time that I wouldn't really recommend doing it if you're on crutches or knee scooter or anything like that, because it got really narrow. Was it still quite narrow this time?
There were definitely sections that were narrow. So yes, if you have crutches, it might be something where you need to really watch where you're going.
The other thing I'd noted is that we did it right after a bunch of rain last time, and we were shocked that it wasn't muddy, because we thought it was going to be really muddy, and it was not. But overall, we'd said it's not really a destination trail, but it's a nice enough way to get a morning walk in. Would you say that's kind of...
Completely agree.
Tulip Tree Trail. I really liked that one last year. That one it's 1.2 kilometers listed on the site. Somewhere else it said it was 1.5. I can't remember if that was on the visitor center or the map. And it ended up being more like 1.9 kilometers because we took an optional offshoot. Yep. And it was kind of shown as part of the trail, and we didn't know what part was listed as the stated distance.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can start talking about this, and then I'll give my little input.
Yeah, so I really like this trail as well. It winds through, and like you said, there's that offshoot that goes to the water. I took it this time. Again, there's not really a sign there that says, "Hey, this way's to the water, this way's the trail."
Mm.
So I actually just kind of started walking the trail and didn't pay attention, and all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, I'm at the water."
I remember that last time that it felt like that's where you're supposed to go. Like it didn't feel like it was a different trail. It just felt like that's where you're supposed to go.
Right. So I went over to the water, checked that out a little bit, came back and hit the main trail again. There's another weird section where it crosses by a bike path, but so they're clear, like no biking on the Tulip Trail and biking on the other trail. So you're not really going to get lost or anything, but it doesn't have super clear signage saying this is the Tulip Trail, this is whatever the bike trail is named either. So just kind of keep an eye out and you'll be fine.
Now, last time we did it when it was raining, and they had signs on each of the boardwalks, because most of this is boardwalk, right?
There's a fair amount of it, yeah.
There were signs on each of the boardwalks saying it was slippery and wet, and that was no joke. It was slippery, like really, really slippery when we did it. I don't think it would be wet this time, though, because I don't think it's rained recently, right?
No, it wasn't wet at all.
I almost biffed it on one of those boardwalks, like, because I think it was, did they curve down or something?
Well, they had replaced some of them pretty recently. There was some new sections for sure. So I don't remember last year if there was maybe.
I went sliding down at one point. I remember that. So I don't know if there was like a ramp on one of them or something, but I went for a bit of a skate there. My other big memory from last year is that I felt the whole area. So it's tulip trees, which we haven't actually seen in bloom, but I've seen pictures of, and apparently they're gorgeous, right? But I remember it was kind of dark and a little bit wet and just really twisty looking trees.
Yep.
And it felt very Tolkien to me. Like I remember just thinking, this feels Tolkien. And as I was thinking to myself, this feels very Tolkien, you know. And I was wearing, like, I've got a rain cloak, so it was kind of not so much in the mood for Tolkien, but it kind of added to this. I feel like we're walking through, you know, whatever. As getting my mental hobbit on, I walked face first into a giant spider web. And I remember thinking, oh, this is thematic. I'm borderline arachnophobic, and normally that would have freaked me out, but it felt so thematic at the time that I'm like, I'll have nightmares about this later. Right now, I'm just going to laugh about it. But that was my big memory of that trail last time. So anyways, there's Harrison Trail is next. We haven't done Harrison Trail either time. So it's an 8-kilometer trail, 16-kilometer return. It gives an estimate of 4 hours to walk it. It basically just goes the whole length of the park. I believe that's the one that's the bike trail also, isn't it?
I believe it is, yep.
It's wide. I mean, we've passed over it a few times. It looks like a big, wide trail, and it looks really basic. So
agreed.
I don't know how scenic that one would be. Yeah, okay, yeah, here it is. It's shared trail for hiking and cycling. The South Point Trail, we did part of it. Now, the weird thing about that trail is it's a big loop, and it starts off the Harrison Trail at one point, and then it goes around to there's a parking access near the beach access area. I think that's where the washroom was. I can't remember. But anyway, part of the trail's washed out. And I remember last year, I don't think that was on the map that it was washed out, but they told us it was washed out. That's the one. Do you remember we walked all the way down to the tip and there was like a bit of a beach there?
Yep.
Yeah. So I remember the trail to it. It just seemed like a regular bike trail. There wasn't anything particularly scenic. I think there were dragonflies though.
Yeah.
I think there were a lot of dragonflies. Yes. So I don't really have much one to say about that one. Do you?
No, I don't, unfortunately.
The scenery at the end was pretty. Yes, but it would have been nice to finish walking the loop.
Yeah.
We'd put down that there was a nice vibe at that beach. Okay. You know, it's very nice solitude, you know. Marsh Trail, we've done that both times now.
Yes.
That is a 7.2 kilometer trail, so 14.4 kilometer out and back. We have not done the whole trail at all. Like, I think I've done 1.5 kilometers out, and you went further last time, but I don't know how long you went out. Last year was weird because the website said that the trail was closed, like inaccessible, and we were looking for something else, and the trail was wide open. They told us it was open. So they said the website had said it was washed out after severe flooding, and there was no sign of flooding.
There were
You
some
remember
trees down though, because the section that I went on past where you stopped, there were some trees down that I had to go
But there was
over.
no sign of flooding though, because it said
Right,
washed out, and there was
right.
no washed out. So there is some weird messaging there. What would you say about this one? So it's wide and flat. It's pretty easy. I think it's a shared bike trail. Also, yeah, it says it's bike friendly trail.
Yep. So it's winding right next to the water. So at some points you're just a few meters from the water. At some points you might be 10 or 15 meters from the water. So you'll get into the tall grasses where the red-winged blackbirds like to be. Mm-hmm. You'll get closer to the water where you might see more sparrows and things, and some ducks and in some little coves in there.
What kind of ducks do you see, Porter?
What kind of ducks do we see there?
Oh my God! Did you forget already? Seriously?
Oh, we saw a male wood duck for the first time, so I forgot that was on that trail.
Oh my God! I thought you were going to jump on that and boast about that male wood duck because that was a big deal for us, and you got a nice clear shot of it. Way to dump that softball, you.
Well, you were the one that saw it first, too.
Well, I didn't know it was a wood duck. I just thought it looked different. And then you took the picture and you're like, that's a male wood duck. And I'm like, you're kidding me. He's going to bleep that. Anyway, yeah, no, it was a shock because every time we've gone to see a wood duck, now this is going to turn into birding, but I think for Rondeau, that's probably appropriate that every section turns into birding.
Yeah.
But we had been looking for wood duck forever. And we've been to parks and we've been to, like in Hamilton, we've been to places that are known for wood ducks. And the closest we've got was that other one, the beach one, Sybil. Painkillers. There was one where there was this marshy area and it was known for wood ducks. And we came in there right after someone said they saw a bunch of wood ducks.
Yep.
And we saw a female wood duck and some babies and they disappeared immediately.
Right.
So we saw like a second of wood ducks. But we want to see a male wood duck.
Right.
Because male wood ducks look fake.
They look very much like a cartoon.
And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not that, like, birds are not real thing, but every picture I've seen of a wood duck does not look real. So the fact that it was just out there in the open, because you know what I mean? Like the way it behaved and the way things have been, anytime we've ever gone to see a wood duck was marshy and covered and like hidden and that they're shy and whatever. And this thing was just out in the bay, like full view.
Hanging out.
Yep. No marshy anything, just right out in the water, hanging out with the buffalo heads, you know?
Yep.
So that was a big deal. Anyway, so that's what we have to say about Marsh. Oh, there was that walkway and the barn swallow nest.
Right. So very unfortunately, the barn swallow nest is like at a 45-degree angle.
And twisted.
Yeah. So it basically fell over.
This is why if you're going to build something, hire an engineer.
Yeah, I looked at the way it was built and I can see exactly why that happened. So it's really unfortunate because a few pieces of wood and that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that's it for the trails, right?
Yeah, there is on that Marsh trail, there's a little dock section too, which is really cute. So that's right at the beginning. Check that out for sure.
Yeah. And that area, that whole area, like especially around the dock and there, was really, really good for birding and wildlife in general. We saw a deer there this time. We saw a raccoon there last time. Tons of birds this time. And then when we were driving away this time, do you remember what happened? We were driving away. What went flying right off in front of us?
The rabbit?
No, fly. Do rabbits fly, Porter?
No.
Good God, I'm the one on painkillers.
I thought you meant flying as in running.
No, the killdeer.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, he was like in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
That was weird. Killdeers are weird birds, man.
I almost killed a killdeer because he wouldn't get out of the road.
Don't kill a killdeer.
I'm not going to kill a killdeer.
They are so dumb. Anyway.
We saw a deer and a killdeer.
Nice. Anyway. Are you making fun of me at this point? Because I feel like, okay. Anyway. So for cycling, like I said, there's two trails that are available for cycling. It's the Harrison and the South Point Trail. The park's website last year, we have note that it mentioned that there's a third trail available for biking, but it doesn't name it. And it's not reflected on the park map. So I don't know. I'm going to look at the map here now. No, unless it's that unnamed one that kind of continues off Rondeau Road. Because that says biking also, but that's weird. Maybe that's why they don't name it. It doesn't have a name. So anyway, and you're also welcome to go cycling on the roads throughout the park, which are, as I said, flat and wide and everything. They also advertise the roads throughout the park as being open to inline skaters.
The roads are not...
They're a little rough for that. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I would not recommend that unless you're really used to rugged roads.
Like there's little branches and rocks and stuff and everything.
But even like the cracks in the pavement and stuff
cracks,
like that, yeah, I wouldn't want to do it.
I would stick to cycling.
Definitely.
Swimming. You've seen the beach more recently than I have. Last time we came to here, we saw the beach on a rainy day and the waves were huge. It was beautiful, but there was you wouldn't go swimming there.
Yeah, I didn't go down to the water this time. I went over there when I was trying to do some birding. But yeah, they have a nice section there.
It's a long beach, it looks like, because they've got several beach access points.
It is April, and that is Lake Erie, and I am not going to go swimming in there. Sorry.
You're Canadian now, Porter. Weather doesn't matter. Watch out for the waves, but do you know what a polar bear dip is? We should make you do a polar bear dip.
I cannot
to say about that.
I cannot handle the temperature to swim in that, so did not experience that myself.
Oh, I'm looking at my notes. There's 11 kilometers of beach on Rondeau Park. That doesn't make a ton of sense, but okay. There's 11 beach access points though, so that's there's a lot of access to the beach anyway.
Yeah.
The Lake Erie seems to be some of the best beaches we've seen now that I think about it. Because if you think about all the beach areas, not the ones like I love the Lake Superior beaches, but they're not beaches. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of the North Shore Lake area beaches are beaches, like sandy sand beaches.
Yeah, so not all of these access points are beachy beach. So I went in what I think was access point 11, if I remember correctly, and it was pretty gravel rocky in that area.
Was it?
Yeah.
Because I've seen pictures of their other ones and it's like sandy sand beach, but I'm thinking if you think Long Point and what's that other one? It is really hard for me to think when I'm on painkillers. The one with the submarine.
Right.
You're the one with the functioning brain right now. We've been there twice.
I can't remember.
Okay, anyway, whatever. Anyways, there's the sandy sand beaches at a lot of these places.
Yeah.
Is my point. So I know the one we'd been to last year was sandy sand, but it was rough water, so no one was going in. Anyway, okay, so the next section we're going to talk about is birding. Now, before I let you talk, because you're the one with the camera, I just want to go over what we said last time. Now, last time, a year ago, we knew this place was good for birding. You accidentally happened into an amazing shot of a golden crown kinglet, but we had no idea what that was at the time. It was just this cute little bird that was doing tilty head look at you like you're an idiot.
they're so good at that.
He really looked at you like you were an idiot. It was hilarious. So that's actually our main image for this park, was just because it was so hilarious. But anyways, I wanted to read you our description of what we'd said a year ago about the birds here that we'd seen. There was some kind of a blackbird in abundance, a blue jay, some kind of little yellow bird, and 4 turkey vultures flying overhead during our entire walk. Now, I think the some kind of little yellow bird was probably
a warbler?
Goldfinch.
Goldfinch, okay.
I think it was a goldfinch. I don't know. I don't think we got a picture of it. But anyways, we didn't have any bird ID software. We didn't have anything for hearing the birds. We didn't know what we were talking about. Some kind of a blackbird. It wasn't a red-winged blackbird, because I knew what those were.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it was the cow-headed or whatever.
Yeah.
A bunch of robins as well as a single turkey. There were little gray birds and something that looked like a chickadee body but wasn't. I have no idea what that was. The other thing I wanted to mention is that they kind of punk you on the website about the birds.
Okay.
So I didn't know anything about any of these birds, but it says they'd mentioned that they get a lot of rare birds. Where is the one that they listed? Painted bunting. They said we get a lot of rare birds like painted bunting. And I've since looked this up because I'm like, I really want to see a painted bunting. We drove around last time looking for a painted bunting because this thing looks not real. It looks like something. It looks like a 2-year-old got a coloring book and colored a bird in with every primary color they had. It did not look real. So I looked it up because I wanted to see if on the Audubon app, if anyone had seen a painted bunting here recently. And they're nowhere near here. If there's no way they commonly get painted buntings. You know what I mean? But it's like, why would you put that? I'm guessing someone saw one blown off path at some point.
Yeah.
Because we did see some rare birds up the way a bit this time that aren't found here. But to say, we get rare species and whatever. No. So anyway, yeah, we got kind of punked. They also had blue grosbeak down. I think that was one that they didn't have here either, because that never comes up on the app. But they tell you all these cool birds and they're not here. So like I looked up paint, I was like, oh, gotta find that. We drove around looking for flashes of blue, red, and yellow. We're like, oh, this thing's bright. Yeah. We're not going to miss it. So we drove around like idiots looking for this bird, but there's no way there was that bird here.
Exactly.
Anyway, now that we do know what we're talking about to some degree, we're still beginners, but now we have the tools.
Yeah.
It was a very different experience this time.
Definitely. We've got software that tracks the sounds. We've got the app that you look at other people, what they've cited. We've upgraded our camera gear, so we were much more prepared.
Yes. So what did you see and or hear this time? Before we get into that, though, can we talk about the little creeper?
Yes.
There was our first day here. There was a little brown creeper in our campsite.
Yep.
It was like a little ping pong ball with a beak and feet.
He was fat and adorable, and he kept flying around and didn't really care that we were here, and we appreciated that.
And he came right up to us almost, because you were less than a meter away from him at one point. He just landed on that tree, and he was a little ball with a beak and feet. He was just like so fat. I love fat birds, and fat tiny, because this is a tiny bird. So it was like a little ball of bird. He's so cute.
They blend into the tree, so you can only see them when they're moving.
We've never seen one that close ever, and he kept coming back. He was very cute. Anyway, so now that we've ranted about our cute little creeper, you can tell us what all you heard and saw here.
Yeah, settle in. This is a pretty big list of what we heard. American robin, you can expect to see lots of robins. American tree sparrow, black-capped chickadee, blue jay, brown creeper, like you just mentioned, brown-headed cowbird, you mentioned that a little earlier, Canada goose, Carolina wren.
Ugh.
I know, we missed out seeing that one. Common grackle, dark-eyed junco, downy woodpecker, eastern phoebe, eastern screech owl, European starling, fox sparrow, golden crowned kinglet, hairy wood. What's that?
Your buddy.
Yep. Hairy woodpecker, house finch, killdeer, mourning dove, lots of mourning doves, northern cardinal, lots of cardinals, northern flicker, northern harrier, pileated woodpecker, my nemesis.
Yeah, tell us about the pileated woodpeckers.
So pileated woodpeckers look like pterodactyls, and I love them.
They look like dinosaurs.
And they're so loud. And I hear them all over. I hear them back and forth from when we're at our site.
You.
Yeah. A couple of the trails I went to, I could hear them off in the distance, and I didn't get to see any here. I was disappointed.
Okay, but honestly, let's look at this rationally. We have this thing where if you see something in the perfect circumstances, like it doesn't feel great to see. You know what I mean? Like when we did the Whiskey Rapids Trail at Algonquin Park, we saw it on this day where everything was it was like something out of a Hallmark card or something. It was just beautiful.
Yeah.
And I kind of never want to do that trail again, because it's never ever going to match up to that. And there was something else recently. Oh, it was this morning. Everything was perfect when we went to the Keith McLean conservation lands, and it was just so beautiful. It's like I kind of don't want to plan to go back tomorrow morning when the weather's not great, because it's never going to match up.
Right.
Now, when it comes to pileated woodpeckers.
Yeah, Earl Rowe Provincial Park has this pileated woodpecker that kept on going to the ground right by the laundry area.
And how much of a did he give that you were there?
He didn't care. He was just doing his thing, digging. I think there must have been a log buried in the ground or something, because he was just digging and digging. And we were taking photos and video, and he's like, oh, okay.
From like 2-3 meters away.
Yeah.
We will never see anything like that again. We will never get photos or video of anything like that again. So it's probably, a small mercy that you're not seeing the pileated woodpeckers, because it will never live up to the Earl Rowe experience.
Yeah, but I love them.
Yeah.
So we also saw heard at least a red-bellied woodpecker, red-winged blackbird, of course, so many of those.
They have attitude too, man.
They've got a lot of attitude.
They are telling you your drama. And one thing before I let you go, continue on with this list that is super long. Our campsite, that first day, do you remember what it sounded like?
It sounded like a jungle.
Yeah, there's so much bird activity. It was really noisy.
Yeah.
And then the kids came and drowned it out. But like it was really cool just how very active. And it wasn't just one bird. It was like it was kind of hard to tell how many different kinds of birds you were hearing at one point, because it was everywhere.
Yep.
But it was really cool. Anyway.
Yeah, so moving on, rusty blackbird, song sparrow, tufted titmouse, turkey vulture, lots of turkey vultures flying around.
Oh, they're cool too, and they've been swooping really, really close to the campground.
Yeah, they really have.
Right overhead.
Yep. Winter wren, I did get to see one of those.
And then what else was there next in the alphabetical list, Porter?
A wood duck. What?
I feel like we need like an air horn or something.
Yep. And yellow-bellied sapsucker. He was really cute.
Was he?
Yeah.
I think that's the one that flew. There was one of them flew over our campsite, and I always screw yellow-bellied sapsucker up with
the red-bellied.
Red-bellied.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have a red belly.
And I don't think the yellow-bellied is really all that yellow.
No.
No.
But anyways, the one with the really bright red head. Which one was that?
A yellow-bellied sapsucker definitely has.
There's one where the red is like a neon red almost. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, I mean, even the Downy's got a little bit of red.
No, that's like a true red. But I'm saying that there's one where the head is like a neon red.
Okay, I think the yellow-bellied has like kind of I'm going to call it a little bit more of an orangey red.
Yeah, but like bright.
Yeah.
Anyway, so aside from that, there was the raccoon we saw that one place.
Yeah.
Like in terms of other wildlife, we saw the deer.
Rabbits.
Lots of rabbits, yeah. Yeah. Squirrels we saw the first time around. We heard frogs. And apparently those were probably American toads or Fowler toads.
Okay.
I can't remember how we came to that conclusion. They are also known for the beach, the dune habitat over there, like where all the endangered stuff is. They're home to common 5-line skinks. But we haven't seen those.
Right.
I kind of don't want to because they're little creepy crawlies.
I did see a snake on the path.
Don't tell me. Ugh.
I'm not actually sure it was alive because it was not moving. I just took a photo.
Where was this?
It was on the little trail to the water access. I think it was Beach Point 11. It's a fairly long walk, and then you get to a little like dock area, or not really dock, a boardwalk area, and right at the end was a snake. Just kind of, I could see about 2/3 of it, and it was just sitting there. I let it be.
And that was today?
No, that was yesterday, I think, when we went out to past the visitor center.
Oh, so the dog beach.
Was that the dog beach one?
Where we pulled over in the parking lot?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so, okay. I feel like if it was laying out in the open, it was probably dead, because there's a lot of turkey vultures around here, and I don't think they'd... Or they only eat dead, don't they?
They eat dead, so...
Okay, I was thinking anything flying is not going to be safe for a snake lying out in the open, but... Anyway, so boating. There is a boat launch here. It was very popular on the Saturday of our stay.
Yeah. Yeah, a boat drove by us when we were on the Marsh Trail, and we were disappointed because he was scaring away all the ducks.
You know what? That's something interesting. We never wrote down all the ducks we saw except for the wood duck.
Right.
Because there were buffleheads and goldeneye, and there were a bunch of ducks that we saw that we didn't list under the birds, but I think technically they're birds. So they're fowl. Except our wood duck, because he was just perfect. We're not going to call him foul. So anyways, there's one small boat launch in the park. It's definitely meant for smaller boats. It's a little metal ramp, and it looked pretty eroded last year, so I don't know if they've replaced it or not, because we didn't get very close because it was really, really busy. And then apparently there's a ramp for large boats and boat slips and stuff nearby, but outside of the park itself. There is fishing and hunting available. We'd seen a sign saying that there was a duck hunt in process. I don't think that's now. So I think that, because isn't the waterfowl hunts during the fall?
I believe that is the case.
So I think that sign probably got left up because it's April. We certainly didn't hear any gunshots here, unlike when we went to Rideau River. In terms of fishing, Rondeau Bay is where they suggest for that, but both sides of the peninsula are known for it. On the Rondeau Bay, there's largemouth bass, catfish, crappie, perch, pike, and sunfish. And on the Lake Erie side, so on the beach side, they used to have commercial fishing as a big thing, according to some signage there. Remember, we read last time. They have perch, salmon, and walleye. Yeah, and then just the waterfowl hunting. So what else is there for activities?
Well, there are winter activities. You can go cross-country skiing, ice fishing, and snowshoeing here, but those are day use only. There's no camping available in the winter.
Yeah, we haven't tried that out just because it is a 2-hour drive from our our house, and if there's no camping available, it's kind of difficult for us.
Right.
It must be cute if you live in the area, though.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
I bet there's winter birding too.
Ooh.
You know, I bet that would be cool here. Like the ducks, because I know in Hamilton, the ducks in our area get much cooler in the winter.
Yeah.
So then there's a discovery program. So as with all of the provincial parks we've been to, they have some sort of a discovery program. In this case, they call it a natural heritage education program, but it's during the busy season, and we try to avoid the busy season. So from late spring until fall, they run a bunch of programs like kids programs, hikes, and slideshows during the day, and then campfires and evening programs later on. What next? I guess Niantic games. What do you know about that?
Yeah, so on Pokemon, there's quite a few stops that we could see. On the app, there were 7 gyms and 17 stops that we could see right here. It is a really long park, and we couldn't see all the way, so there are presumably more stops further down south on the peninsula.
Okay. So then I guess the next section we talk about is nearby attractions. Now, when we were here last time, we had the list of things to look for, and we talked about the Buxton National Historic Site Museum, and I looked it up and it looked really interesting. It was a terminus on the Underground Railroad, which is really interesting these days. You know, now that we have friends in the US that we might end up needing to Underground Railroad at some point. Anyway, we had talked about possibly going to see that this time and completely forgot about it until we're on our way out.
Yeah.
Because we were very much distracted by the birds. So in terms of nearby attractions, we have a separate video talking about the Keith McLean. Don't laugh at me. He made a joke about John McLean, and now every time I go to say it, I have to check myself. It's Keith McLean Conservation Lands. So we'll talk about that in a bit, or separately. We've got that going. Beautiful area though. It's 5 minutes away from the site, and it's beautiful, beautiful. Gotta recommend it. We also headed into Erio.
Yep, the marine.
Talk about the marina and the Marsh Trail, I think it was.
Right, that was a really cool area. So there were a couple of rare ducks around there. There was a tufted duck,
and we saw that one.
We saw that one.
Like good.
There was a harlequin duck that looked like a dot because it was so far away on my screen. So.
But that was like the wood duck situation because it was a female one.
Yeah.
And the female ones don't look as fake as the male ones. The male ones do not look real.
Right. I certainly wish it would have been a male and up close, but that's fine. I got to see it. It was great.
This podcast we do here is going to give me a reputation of like being one of those birds aren't real. That one doesn't look real. It's the government coming after you. The wood ducks you're being spied on. No, but anyways, we want to see a female. We saw a female harlequin. We did not see a male harlequin. I would like to say that's a goal now, but that one, it's the case of like the painted bunting. It's so far off where it's supposed to be, so it must have gotten blown off track. But those are very, 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 very rare to see here. So we will probably never see a male harlequin unless we travel.
Yeah. So on the way out of the Erio area, there's a really cool, what would you call that? The viewing platform?
That was another conservation area. So they've got a lot of different conservation area sites. And then there was also a rail trail somewhere. And actually part of that we should talk about is the people.
Yeah, we met up with the group of photographers, just happened upon them.
Birders.
Yes.
They would correct you on that. Because some of them did not like photographers.
Yeah, so we met up with some birders when we were looking for these rare ducks that we had heard about, and they were super friendly and told us, yep, that one's the tufted one, and that one's the harlequin, which was great because I'm not sure I would have picked them out.
I wouldn't have seen that. I've got really good long distance vision, and I would not have seen that duck.
The tufted one, which was fairly close, you could only see the tuft when it turned its head just the right way. So if you're just...
Oh, I mean the harlequin. The harlequin was a dot on a rock beyond my scope of view. You needed your big lens to see that thing. So I'm glad they were there to point us in the right direction. Yeah,
I've got some shots that are not going to look great on this video, but technically I got a shot of it.
You saw it.
Yeah.
You saw it and it was rare. So good enough.
Even the tufted one, I don't know that I would have picked it out because...
It looks like a duck. I saw the picture. I'm like, it looks like a duck.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean? I made the mistake of saying seagull to one of the birds. Because you know what I say, like where I said, oh, it looks like a duck. Like it looks like an average duck, right? Yep. Like it didn't look like fake, you know? But I'd said something about that. I was surprised that this. I don't remember what gull we saw.
Yep.
Was, but I'm like, oh, I'm surprised because I thought they all kind of just looked like a seagull, because there's like the great black, I can't say it, but it's basically, it looks like what you'd expect a seagull to look like, except it's got gray on top of the wings and it's bigger. So
as soon as you said that, I was like, oh,
because you know what, I didn't know there was a thing about people getting upset about a seagull until someone mentioned it on Z. Yeah. I had no idea, and now it's a thing, and I guess I did the big faux pas of saying seagull. So
if you're not familiar,
we're bad birders.
there is no seagull. There's ring-billed gull. There's black-backed gull, like you said.
But I would argue, though, that seagull may not be a species, right? But it's a thing. It's a gull.
I know.
That's you know what I mean? It's like, so if you say seagull, that's just the umbrella. And I think that most seagulls look very similar. Yep. And this one did not, because it had wasn't like a black head or something. It looked completely different. It wasn't like, if you go to like any beach and someone throws their fries out, the birds that come,
the gulls,
seagulls or not,
the gulls,
they all look the same. You know what I mean? If you're not looking for them, you can tell that's a seagull. This thing didn't look like a gull. It looked like something else. So anyway.
Fair enough.
We are not getting any points for birding at this one. We're learning. I'm not crabbing. She totally has the right. Because, I mean, there's things like when I was very young, I read a book by a very, very, very well-respected author. And I won't name because I don't want to get people upset at me because he's got a big fan base. But when I was 12, he referred to a microbe as being a virus and bacteria and used it interchangeably. Like, I can't remember the actual context, but he wasn't talking about like bacteriophages or anything. He was like using them as interchangeable terms, and that irks me to this day. So I get the seagull thing, but I am in my 40s and I've called them seagulls my entire life, and a year of birding is not going to change the fact that if it's white and gray and it flies around and eats your fries, it's a seagull. Now it might be a different kind of seagull, but it's a seagull,
Except it's a gull.
I'm going to say seagull just to annoy you. I'm going to look at a robin on the ground and be like, seagull. Give it a fry. If it eats it, it's a seagull, Porter. Oh, we're not making fans this time. Anyway. So do you want to talk about the Marsh Trail? Because that was also there.
Yeah, it was just a tiny little parking lot, and it's kind of unsuspecting. Like, you
could miss it easily.
Absolutely. It doesn't really look like much, except it is a lot. You go down this trail.
But it's not, though. That's the other thing. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a straight walk.
Right, it is. But the app was just lighting up with all these different kind of birds. It was great. There's water off to the right as you're walking out. There's kind of farmland off to the left, but there's like a row of bushes and brush over there.
And it wasn't just birds either.
Yeah.
So like a lot of stuff that we didn't see, like, we've got the app that tracks what birds we hear, right? There were a lot of birds that didn't show up on the app because they were just being quiet or whatever. But the turtles.
Oh, the turtles.
Holy crap, the turtles.
Yeah, we've got a photo with more than 20 photos in a row.
25.
25 on this log. That was really cool. There was a rare one, like a yellow-throated one. Is that what it was called?
It was yellow something, but he had a yellow throat was how you identify it.
Yep.
And he's an endangered species. And, God, there was so much out there. But it was just, if you see it from the road, it's just a tiny, tiny parking lot. There's a sign that says, there's a trail there. And if you look down the trail, it is a wide, flat trail.
Yep.
That goes straight out. There is nothing scenic that you can see from there. It is a wide, flat trail and it looks super basic. You get on that and it's just wildlife everywhere.
It really is quite nice. And there's a nice viewing platform partway down.
Yep. It goes along Rondeau Bay.
So definitely check that out if you're in the area, especially if you like birding. But even just to view it, it's great.
And then that was near that other. Do you remember the name of that? It wasn't right across the street from that, but it was pretty close to the that viewing.
Right, that was the one I was saying first.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. So we are ranting forever on this, and the entire thing has basically been about birds, whether it's literal birds or fake birds or the
or
park
seagulls.
being for the seagulls. See, you said seagulls now. No, or the park being for the birds. See, we say for the birds because you come here for the birds, but then if you think about the people we've camped next to both times, you know.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, there's a vibe.
Right. I resisted giving them the bird.
Oh man. See, I don't like when you go camping and you feel kind of stabby. You know, I would never. You know, we didn't even narc on either one of them. But it's like I don't like sitting in the campsite and just like not being. I'm trying to put this nicely. Not being thrilled with the environment.
Right.
Anyway, but so final thoughts. What are you thinking?
Yeah, we're definitely going to be back. You know, we're getting more and more into birding. It's really a lot of fun. If you're not into birding, I would recommend checking it out. Get the Merlin app, things like that to kind of just try. Even if you're just looking without any kind of equipment, it's really a lot of fun.
I'm going to say, though, if you're not into birding, like if you're not into birding, like you have no interest in it at all, I'm not sure how attractive the park would be. You know what I mean? Because the campsites are not great.
Right.
Maybe the beach is great in the summer, but in the spring there would not be much attraction to the park if not for the birds.
Well, then if you're not into birding, then you've got several short trails. Mm-hmm. So if that suits your needs or what you're looking for, that is nice, and they are kind of distinctly different between them, right?
Not many. I don't think any of them really are. So the Tulip Tree Trail is unique, right?
Yeah.
Other than that, they aren't what I would consider destination trails.
I agree.
You know what I mean? And the campground isn't a destination campground because there are campgrounds where they're known for the waterfront sites or whatever. This is a place to park your RV or to set your tent while you do other stuff. Yep. And if your other stuff doesn't include birds, at least for the spring, I think I'd recommend a different park.
Possibly.
It's not a whole lot, you know.
Yeah, if you're more into boating, that's not our thing. So
that's true.
There's definitely a lot of water in the area.
Is it fishing season this early though?
I am not sure.
I don't know. So, anyways, if it's fishing, you're gonna have to know when you do stuff. But other than that, it is a very loud campground on account of the birds. You can hear them over air conditioning. We had air conditioning running last time, and we noted that you could hear the birds over the air conditioning, which is really cool. But yeah, no, I really like the park for the birds. We did visit both times in spring during migration, so we should say that. So if you come in July, you're going to have a very, very, very different experience to what we had because there's going to be more people, and there's going to be swimming, and there might not be any birds. I don't know. This is definitely high season for birds.
It is indeed.
So yeah, so definitely come, and if you're here for the birds, definitely check out like all those areas around here because even just driving on the roads, we saw so much.
We really did. Yeah.
Anyway,
so check out our blog. We've got all this information written down with lots of nice photos and everything. Photos of birds. Surprise, surprise.
And I'm more coherent in type than I am on painkillers, and he is tired and hungry. So we're going to sign off and just say like and subscribe, and we'll be doing another TLDR soon.
Definitely. Yep. Follow us, and we'll see you again next time. TLDR.